Hello, boys and girls. This is Miss Brooks, and I want to share with you a quick lesson on how to retell the story. This is something we've done many times before, and now that we're learning online, I thought it'd be good for us to review retelling a story. So, if you remember to retell a story, you are being asked to remember the order of events that happened in the story. So, you want to think about what happened first. What happens in the beginning? In the beginning, that's when we are introduced to characters, setting, and a little bit about the problem that's going to develop in the middle. In the middle section is when you're going to write then. Then what happened? Finally, the last part of the story is usually how the problem gets solved. So again, in the beginning, you're going to talk about character and setting, sort of setting up um, the whole story, and then you're going to what's starting to happen in the beginning. Then the problem is introduced. Last, how's the problem get solved? And finally, what is the end of the story? Okay, I'm going to give you a quick example on a few familiar books that you've already read before. Remember the old lady who swallowed a fly? Okay, well, in the very beginning, there was an old lady. Okay, she lived alone and in her home, and she swallowed a fly. Next, the old lady swallowed a few other things, a spider and a dog. And when you're retelling a story, you can use words and pictures just like Miss Brooks did here. Then last, the middle of the story, toward the end, she ate other things that got bigger and bigger. You notice the fly was the smallest thing, then the spider is a little bit bigger than a fly, and then there was a dog, and last, she swallowed a horse. Yep, a whole horse, and then she died. So I kind of put a little sad face there. But that was the end of our story. So I stopped there because I have just told you the sequence of what happened in the old lady who swallowed a fly. Okay, let's try it one more time. And this time I want your help. We're going to think about Little Red Riding Hood, another one of our favorites. So let's remove these Post-its. All right. And we're going to think about Little Red Riding Hood. What happened first in the story Little Red Riding Hood? What happened first? Right. So if you're thinking that a little girl took off to visit her grandma, you are right. That's the first thing I was thinking. The setting was in the forest where she was leaving her home to walk through the forest, and it was just her and her mom. Those were the only two characters at first. As she's walking along the path, a wolf appeared. A wolf appeared and he tried to eat her tortillas. Now, if you remember, there's many versions of the Little Red Riding Hood. The one we read was the wolf, the Red Riding Hood going to visit the wolf, and she was carrying a basket of warm tortillas, and he wanted those. So that's what happened then. First, she went off to visit Grandma, then a wolf appeared. Notice I'm using my sequence words, and you're going to get to use those too when you retell a story. And then, of course, Little Red Riding Hood didn't want him to eat all the tortillas because these were specially made for Grandma. So he tricked her and he got to her house first and tried to harm her grandma. But by the time this problem got solved, Grandma invited the wolf to have dinner together. Instead of Grandma being angry or upset that he wanted to take her tortillas, she just understood that he was just a hungry wolf and he needed food. So Grandma invited the wolf to have dinner together, and that's how the problem was solved, and that's how the story ended. So I'll stop right there and let you take a look at how we retold the story of Red Riding Hood. Remember, first you talked about the characters of the story and the setting. Then we talked about how a wolf appeared and tried to eat the tortillas. And then you kind of tried to think of words you can use because we're coming toward the last part of it. So you could write last. What are some other words you could write for the end of the story? Yes, finally. You could write finally. Um, Grandma invited the wolf to have dinner together. And then that's the end. That's it. Retelling a story, it's 3 steps. What happened first, what happened then or next, what happened last or finally. I know you got this. Let's do this with our new story today.